Welcome, friends, to Talks with Tatum. If you're new here, we're all about evolution and growth in this relationship that we have with God and with one another. And if you've been around for a while, then you know the transformational power of the Spirit of God, how it works within each and every one of us and pushes us and propels us out into the world to be beacons of hope and light. So happy to have you here. The passage that we're digging deep into this week is all about collaboration. Now, sometimes that word can seem like a bad word, especially in our culture today with social media. Coming out of the pandemic, we don't collaborate so well anymore. Maybe it's just the distance. Maybe it's the lack of interactions that we have in person with one another. But if we're honest about it, we hold things very close to the vest. We want the accolades, we want the celebration to be about us. And sometimes that pushes us further and further away from collaborating with one another. It pushes us away from the unity that we see in this passage. But God calls us to be the hands and feet of this motion, of this movement of love and compassion and mercy in the world. He calls us to collaborate with one another. He calls us to move as one body, rhythmic in our motion, and to live lives that are Christ-like. And to do that, we must collaborate. We must put aside our petty and selfish divisions, and we must be united in Christ. And I know what you're thinking, how difficult it can be to work with somebody that doesn't believe the same things as you, that doesn't see the world in the exact same way that you do. But it's our differences that make our work so special, because we can see the world in a 360 view and touch as many people as possible with the love and the hope of God. But only if we're willing to collaborate, only if we're willing to put aside the divisions in this world. And I know how difficult that can be. I know what it means to look at someone and only see their flaws, only see their faults. But God sees a servant that's blessed with gifts and that is called to serve with reckless abandon. And if we are only willing to put aside the those differences, to put aside our petty grievances and grow up. Because life is short, and we are called to do great things while we're here. We're called to see past flaws and faults. We're called to see the face of Christ in one another. And when we collaborate, there is so much beauty. When we move rhythmically as the hands and feet, as one body united in Christ. But to do that, we must have humility. We must be able to see God working in all of those around us. We must be able to see the Spirit of God at work in the world that we dwell in. We must be able to feel God working and pushing and growing and molding each and every one of us from the inside out. And if you're willing to be humble, then you're willing to collaborate, then you're willing to meet people with compassion and grace, just like God meets you and I. And when we collaborate, there is no telling the wondrous creation that we can mold in this world. There's no telling the Christ that we can see if we are only willing to be united in our service of God. It's all that easy and it's all that hard. Thanks be to God.